When Joel reached out to me, I was at my rock bottom. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, complete hopelessness, powerlessness, fear, and didn't know where to go or what to do.
So my family and I moved to Denver, Colorado in the summer of 2019, and we moved out here to plant a church. And for various reasons, that didn't work out. And we got connected to Fellowship Denver, who was hoping to plant a church in the northwest part of the city. We ended up connecting with them, and that led us to launch this new congregation in Arvada. Fellowship Denver has always been about the mission of God. So we want to take any opportunity we can to invite people into life with God. And that happens best when you multiply churches and congregations, which is what we're all about.
We've experienced tremendous hospitality from our home group leaders throughout the different churches that we've attended in the Acts 29 network. And that is something that helped Lauren and I grow in a desire to have that same hospitality mentality in our home. From the time we started attending Fellowship Denver South Broadway, we knew that once Fellowship Denver started with this desire to plant in the North Denver, Arvada area, that was something from day one that we felt missional about, wanting to have a church in our neighborhood that we could invite friends and neighbors to and not be 30 minutes away. When I had a job situation come up that took me to Salt Lake, Mike was the first one that came to mind. In college, Mike and I were best friends. As life happens, so it does, we lost connect with each other over the course of several years. And so I reached out to him, as my work trip approach to say, hey Mikey, I'd love to come and hang out and see what's going on with life.
When Joel called me, I had just gotten out of a 30-day rehab program, and I didn't know whether or not I wanted to even tell him that or not. My only response was like, hey Joel, I just got out of rehab. That's what's going on with me. And he immediately just said, well, I would still love to connect with you. Over about 6 months after this conversation with Joel, he had stayed in contact with me while I was in a kind of an outpatient rehab program. He truly listened to like all of my innermost thoughts, even just like around faith and about my kind of anger towards the Christian church. And about 6 months after we had that conversation, I found out that my daughter was going to be going to Colorado. And so I called Joel and just said, like, I really need to come out there. Is it okay if I live with you for a time?
That conversation was easy for us. We said, of course, without hesitation. We just didn't know that 2 weeks was going to turn into 2.5 years.
We've already talked about that, like, this office, the size of it.
So I'd heard about Mike coming to church from Joel, and he showed up one Sunday, and you could tell that this was sort of new for him. And I ended up connecting with him after service, and we put coffee on our schedule for that week. And I remember him responding with tears to the gospel of Jesus. And that following Sunday, there's a couple guys who I introduced him to, and he was just swarmed with the community of believers here, which was really beautiful.
When I walked in the doors of Fellowship Denver, there was so many things going on in my mind. There was like prejudgment that I had in my own heart. There was an unbelievable amount of anxiety and fear.
It wasn't just Lauren and I shouldering the burden of helping Mike in this journey. It was other authentic, Jesus-believing Christians here at Fellowship Denver that chose, hey, we're going to help Mike walk through this process.
As I asked tough questions, amongst patient people, people that weren't threatened by those tough questions. Eventually I arrived at a place of, I believe that Jesus is who he says he was, and that he walked this earth, and that he died and rose again.
I have loved seeing Mike grow in his faith. The Lord has just captured his heart, and that started with him getting into a small group and being surrounded by a community, being part of that community. And what's been really sweet is Mike is leading the team that are starting a recovery group in our church, all based off of what God has done in his life here. And man, does it get any better than this? Like, this is why we plant churches. This is why we're part of Acts 29, because we want to see lives transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we get to be part of it. Like, how good is God to invite us into his mission, that we get to see him not only transform our lives, but the lives around us.